Hello, everybody. Thank you all for joining today's webinar. This is part of our educational webinar series. Topic today is the importance of breaking out your bids. My name is Dylan Fisher. I'm one of the regional sales managers here at McCormick Systems. I've been with the company for going on 12 years, so quite a long time. The company itself, if you're not familiar, has been around for about 45 years, if you can believe that. So very well established in the world of estimating and takeoff software. We are specific to the trades. So MEP. We got our start in electrical. We were founded by an electrical contractor in 1979, and then shortly thereafter we hired a professional to build us a plumbing and mechanical database. But I do also want to mention we do offer electrical databases for both the US and the Canadian market. Just a quick introduction here, again, in regards to McCormick as a company. What really sets us apart in comparison with other options on the market is we're a true all-in-one system. We're one program for estimating and takeoff. Whereas other systems out there, you need one system for estimating, one for takeoff. Sometimes you can link them together, sometimes you can't, but there's always extra steps involved at the very least. But yeah, with McCormick, it's one system, and so it's a lot easier to work with and a lot faster. Not to mention a lot of the features that we have incorporated into the takeoff are specific to the trades. So, whereas other generic construction takeoff softwares aren't going to offer those sort of trade-specific details. Now, we are hosting the software on a cloud server, so the advantage there is that users of McCormick have access from anywhere. It's also a true network, a true multi-user system. So that's another thing that makes McCormick stand out. You have the ability to collaborate and share the information. If you have multiple estimators, we can even work on the same projects at the same time. And of course, we're keeping all the we're keeping the network environment secure and backed up for you, all the data, the software updates, all that. All right, and then here's the key points we're going to talk about today. Why are breakouts important? Why do they matter? So these are the points that I wanted to sort of high level just touch on before we sort of dive into the system and get a closer look at how we handle these situations in McCormick. So number one, bid management and job management. So what I mean by that is it's easier to manage the bids when you have breakouts if changes occur. Also, just the visibility factor of being able to look at an estimate, it's a lot easier to manage the estimate when you have breakouts. Certainly when you start doing the job. So job management breakouts are useful then because we can look at slices of the pie, so to speak. So rather than looking at the like for example, one big material list for the job, I can look at a material list just for floor one. I can see how many man hours I've got there, a complete list of material. There's also another layer of detail called cost codes, which are oftentimes used. It's another breakout, which of course that's something we handle in McCormick. We have cost codes built into the material. So not only can I see, for example, a list of material for floor one, and again, a material list, material cost, labor hours, but McCormick would automatically tell me, all right, there's, out of the 600 hours on floor one, 100 of those hours are in branch rough. So branch rough would be a cost code. And then, so understanding your estimates and jobs better, that all kind of ties into to the bid management, job management. And then we can also manage options and changes a lot better, and oftentimes that's necessary. And so that's another factor when we're talking about breakouts. Sometimes the breakouts are for the customer. Um, let's see here. Oh, Sorry, I wasn't sharing my screen with you guys. I'm going to share that now. Alrighty, so you missed the first couple slides, but again, that was just introduction. So yeah, again, these are the key points we'll be taking a deeper dive into here in just a moment. All right, and then just wanted to quickly, I gave you a quick introduction of McCormick as a company. We're of course part of the foundation software company. So here's the other products you'll see on the screen here. These are all foundation products. So of course, foundation is the main hub. That's the accounting, the full, construction specific accounting package, and then HQ Suite, that's project management solutions. They have a payroll service. Obviously I'm with McCormick. There's another estimating software in the foundation family of products called the Edge, and that's more specific to roofing. They also do like fireproofing and concrete and interior finishes, exterior finishes, and then WorkMax is mobile time tracking. So there's also safety. Part of the HQ is also safety software. I mean, there's just a full suite of options out there. Of course, one of the advantages to a McCormick user that has foundation accounting is direct integration. But obviously, if you're interested in learning anything more about these products or McCormick, give us a shout. Happy to provide information. Demonstrations today is just really focused on a specific topic. If you're interested in seeing like, for example, McCormick, the whole program, and give us a call, set up a demonstration. We usually spend about an hour and a half with you to talk you through the whole program, and of course, we try to tailor it to you and your needs, and answer any questions you have as they come up throughout the demonstration. Today, you can only hear me. I can't hear you. But thank you all for joining. If you do, I would love to answer questions if there are any. So there you should see like a box to enter questions on the webinar like taskbar. So feel free to type in questions if you have them, and I'll do my best to review those and answer those at the end. Alrighty. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up McCormick here. This is what we call the job screen in McCormick. Essentially, this is where I keep track of all of my jobs. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up a job that's in process here. It's called the 149 West Boston Buildings Project. So I'm going to open it up. So the job's already been started. In McCormick, we work through a 5-step process. So for those of you who are not familiar with McCormick, again, I'm just going to be mainly talking about breakouts today. So I'm going to be focused on the labels, step 2, and then extension and bid summary. So very quickly here, just kind of bird's eye view. In McCormick, step 1 is what we call jobs. You name the job, type in details if you want to, add plans if you got them. And then step 2 is labels. This is where we can break the bid down. Takeoff is where we account for the material. Of course, if we want the breakouts, we have to pay attention to where we're accounting for the material. Step 4 is extension. We're extending our takeoff by a price and a labor. So we have multiple levels of material cost, labor hours built into the parts. So extension, we're extending our takeoff by one of the built-in price and labor levels. We have an opportunity to review there, make adjustments there if necessary. And then the 5th and final step is called the bid summary. That's where we wrap up the job. We assign labor rates to the labor hours. We add additional job expenses and markups. Okay, and then we even push out a proposal as well. But let's go ahead and click on the labels button here. So step 2, and keep in mind that this is an example. So this is a job, again, it's called the 149 West Boston Buildings job. In the first column, this is one type of breakout that is important for this job. I need to provide a base bid and 2 options or alternates. So simply put, in this first column, each label represents a separate price. Okay, now there's actually in this McCormick Pro level of the software, there's actually no limit within this one job. If I needed to provide 100 options, I could label all 100 options in this first column here. So you'll see when you click in, when you type in a label, it gives you an option to add another one, either now or later on. This is also important. This is where I could also start a change order. So if I bid the job 6 months ago, I'm doing the work now, I could come back here and start a change order. So change order 1 today, maybe tomorrow or next week, change order 2. So again, there's no limit. So this is one level of breakout detail that's important. Sometimes we have to provide options. Sometimes we need to provide more than just a lump sum price. Now, to take that a step further, perhaps the base bid, perhaps I need to provide a price on each, they want a breakout price on each building or each system. So that's an so yes, I might be providing a base bid and some options, but maybe the base bid is going to be broken up into multiple prices. So that's one major factor in regards to bid breakout. Sometimes it's necessary for the customer. It's required, and sometimes it's not required, but some of our users, that's how they always provide their pricing. They feel like there's more detail is better. So again, this is an example. In this example job, the job has multiple buildings. So in this first column, I labeled each area, or in this case, building. And again, this is just an example. This column here, these are like sub areas. And to be clear, each column is a subset of the previous. So here in this third column, if I wanted to look at underground by itself for the job, I could do that. I could also look at underground just for building B or just for building A. Obviously, I could look at each floor, each level separate within each one of these buildings. So again, each column is a subset of the previous. Now I broke the job down into systems as well. I want to be able to look at lighting by itself. Again, I could look at lighting by itself for the whole job. I could also look at lighting by itself in building A, or lighting by itself in floor 1 for building C. Okay, and then a lot of people like breakouts on sheets, so I can look at a material list for each sheet if I want to. So again, this is an example. Other breakouts you might want or need are phases, so you might designate a column for phases. Um, but also keep in mind this, that on a smaller project, you're not going to break it down this much. If it's a smaller, typical commercial project, you might just use 3 columns. You might do base bid here, you might do floors here, and systems here. So 3 columns are pretty standard for a decent sized project. But again, there are no limits in terms of how many lines I can go down in each column. We do limit it at 5 columns total. Again, each column being a subset of the previous. Now, I had already touched on this in the introduction. Um, these the first column, these are prices. These are separate prices, separate scenarios within the job folder. But I also said, hey, you know what? Uh, I'm also going to provide. Let's go with systems. I'm going to provide the customer with a price on each one of these systems. So in that case, I'm going to say, okay, here's my base bid. Here's a total sell price. And then here's a sell price just for power, just for lighting, just for voice and data, and just for fire alarm. Okay, but again, and so that's those are price breakouts. But again, when I start doing the job, these breakouts will become very useful as well. Even if I didn't need to provide a price on each system or each building, when I start doing the work, I can look at a material list for each area, material cost, labor hours. Again, I could also look at each level separate for each building. I can look at each system separate. And so obviously those types of breakouts will become very useful for managing the job. Okay, so in McCormick, uh, we stop here in step 2 labels before we go on to takeoff. And so it's kind of a job to job deal where we're going to determine, hey, what type of breakouts do we want and or need to manage this bid better and or to manage the job better once we're awarded the project. Now, I will stop by takeoff just for a moment because I want to review an item. I'm not going to do any takeoff today. That's a different, again, we're just going to focus on the breakouts. But this is, again, where we account for the material in McCormick. I want to review an item for you and then just talk about the cost codes for a moment. All right, so I'm going to review. This is just a single piece of material in McCormick. It's a 20 amp standard grade receptacle. Now, of course, you typically don't take off item by item in McCormick. You typically take off by assembly, which is just a group of items. So when you take off a receptacle, you get more than just a receptacle. You get a plate, a box, a muttering, everything you need to install. And so, yeah, we have thousands of items and assemblies pre-built, ready to go for you. But I'm just reviewing this one item to show you. Of course, it has material pricing, labor hours built into it. That's the estimating data. But here's the cost code. So this item is assigned the cost code of trim devices plates. Okay, so there's many cost codes in here. It's like an automatic breakout. So we talked about labels, which you'll see those are actually at the top of the screen now. So in takeoff, if we want those breakouts, it starts with labels, but then here, obviously we have to pay attention to where we're accounting for the material here in takeoff. But cost code breakouts are automatic because they're built into the material. So even if I skipped over labels and went straight to takeoff, at the very least, McCormick would give me cost code breakouts: branch rough, feeder rough, trim devices, plates, fixtures, things like that, equipment. So those breakouts are automatic. I don't have to do anything to get those. But since I do have labels, McCormick will also show me cost code breakouts within my label set breakouts. So quite a bit of detail. Again, if I wanted to see how many hours are in the branch rough just for building A, I can do that. I can look at hours for in floor 1, building C. Again, branch rough, feeder rough, trim devices, plates, equipment, fixtures, things like that. Now, I do like to mention that our cost codes are customizable. So if you're already using cost codes elsewhere, and you need hours to match up, you can change the cost codes in McCormick and you can add custom cost codes. Now, if you're a foundation client, you don't necessarily have to change the cost codes in McCormick to match, because there's a map that you set up to set up the integration piece. There's a map where you essentially say this cost code in McCormick means this cost code in foundation. So it's a big advantage to a foundation client. All right, now in extension, which is of course, the result of everything we did in takeoff. By default, the first time you come to extension, McCormick will spit out one giant list of material. So every single piece of material that we need for the job. And it is itemized. So, it's down to the wire nut, screws, and washers. It's just, every single piece of material. Now, I have this job separated right now, but let me just show you here. I gotta unlock this. So you'll see that I'm on the materials tab right now. There's also a labels tab, so you can toggle between the two. Now, this is a really large project, in terms of like I've accounted for a lot of material, but you'll see all of the labels that are blue are labels that have takeoff on them. Now, currently I have the columns set to separate. So all that means is that, I'm asking the system to display the material each by label. So by setting this column to separate, the material list is showing each building separate. In this case, building A and building B are the ones that the others don't have takeoff on them. Now, I also have this on separate, so it's also showing me each level separate. Again, it's a subset of this column, so within the buildings. And then I have this column separate as well. So again, by default, the first time you come to material, to extension, it's just going to show you one big list, but then you can go to the labels tab and you can check and uncheck labels, and you can combine and separate them to view the breakouts however you want. All right, so here you'll see the first breakout is base bid, building A, underground, and then here's building A, floor one power. Again, we're showing you a material cost, we're showing you labor hours for each label set, and of course a material list for each label set. Now, if you look closely, we're also giving you, once again, the automatic cost codes as well. Those breakouts are shown within my label sets. So here's branch rough. That's one cost code. That's the material cost and the hours associated with branch rough. Again, within floor one power. Okay, there's also branch rough within floor one lighting. So I can view the total hours there. So now, maybe an easier way to interpret this is if I hit collapse labels here, it's now showing me my breakout totals. And again, it's displaying it this way because of the way I set up the labels folder. I said I want to see each building separate, each floor separate within each building, each system separate. Again, but I have the flexibility to say, you know what, just show me building A, or just show me one big material list for building A. So again, these types of breakouts are very powerful and very useful for to address changes and of course to manage the job. So here we're displaying the total hours and the total material costs for each one of these breakouts. McCormick automatically gives me percentages as well. So, pretty handy. I can see I've got 18% of the material cost sitting here. I've got a big chunk of the hours sitting here, about 15% of the hours. And then we can also collapse cost codes. So if I hit this button here, it'll show me cost code breakouts, or I'm sorry, cost code totals within the label set totals. So again, there you have it. There's the total hours for building A floor one power, 175 hours there. Automatically, McCormick says 109 of those hours are in the branch rough. So again, the more breakouts you have, the easier it is to handle changes, the easier it is to manage the projects once we start doing the work. Of course, we have something to compare against and to plan. Now, in the final step of McCormick, the bid summary, this is where we wrap up the job. So this is where we would assign rates to the hours. This is where we would add additional job expenses like permits and fees and quoted material dollars and things like that, and of course markup. So what you're looking at here, these are actually another type of breakouts. It's job cost breakouts. So material cost, labor cost, supplier quoted material cost, subcontractor expenses, direct job expenses, equipment. Now, these are also customizable. So if you wanted to add a custom job cost category, we can certainly do that. And you just added it's up here in the ribbon. You would just add an other cost, and you would create a new job cost category, and there would be a folder that goes along with it. But again, this is my cost for my material cost, my labor cost, and so on. And then of course I have markups, 10% overhead on those, and 12% profit on all of these job cost categories. Now, again, going back to the actual bid breakouts that we were just talking about in term, again, it started with labeling, and then in takeoff, we had to pay attention to where we're accounting for the material. In extension, we were able to check and uncheck, combine, separate, and view those reports however we want. And by the way, all those reports are easily printable and exportable. But now that I'm in the bid summary, you'll see that there's all these drop downs at the top. So I'm going to hit the drop down for grouping. And again, my example was, hey, I'm going to provide a base bid, but instead of a lump sum, I'm going to provide a price on each system. So you'll see I can turn the system breakouts, the system grouping on, and now you'll see there's just like a little plus sign that's going to appear next to these job cost categories. Okay, so if you open this up, it's now showing me, because again, that's the option I turned on, the grouping. Now it's showing me the material cost for each system. Okay, I can even view the markups. Here's my overhead markup just for power, and my profit markup just for power. Now, there's a lot of options here in terms of being able to check and uncheck, and combine and separate as well. So similar to the extension. Of course, the extension is showing all of the material as well, and the material costs and hours associated with each part. Whereas here we're just dealing with costs, and we're dealing with the totals. Um, Now, if I wanted to look at just power by itself, you'll see at the on the right side, it's showing all of the totals. So that essentially, like all of my job costs are total up here: tax amount, raw cost plus tax, overhead total, profit total, total return dollars, just the overhead and profit combined. Here's a sell price. Again, that's for the base bid, but if I wanted to, I could turn this on here and say, you know what, I just want to see the just power. Let's look at power by itself. Okay, so now we're looking at material costs, labor costs, quota material dollars. We're looking at the cost just for power now. And we're looking at, of course, again, all the totals on the right are that's my sell price just for power. So um, of course, I could view, sell price for all. We have what's called a recap sheet. So right now I'm showing that I can view each of the breakouts that I'm providing, like almost as if it's its own bid within the bid summary here. But if I have them all turned on and I want to see like sell prices for each one of those, then you can use the recap report for that. Which, by the way, this is also customizable in terms of what details you want to show. I have mine set to only show sell prices, but you can go into the settings and show other. You want to show overhead and profit and whatever total return percent. You can do that, but this is showing my sell price for each system. Okay. Now, again, that's useful. The being able to provide those very easily provide breakout prices for the customer. But again, there's so many options here, and so many different scenarios where I might be able to use these functions to help me out in terms of, again, not only winning the project, but then managing the project. Now, last but not least, I do want to mention that if you are a foundation client, then if you're awarded this project, then you would just hit this foundation export button here, and you'd be able to send all of the data to foundation. It's pretty cool. It creates the budget automatically in foundation. It also sends over the complete list of material. But also, again, keep in mind that if you're not a foundation client, all of the data, all the breakout details and reports are easily printable and exportable. And I had also mentioned as well that, like for example, the cost codes are customizable. So if you're using cost codes elsewhere for project management or for for accounting, for budgeting, ours are customizable. So I'm going to check to see if there's any questions that have popped up here. Okay, let's see what we got. Could you give a brief explanation of how you would add cost of a quoted item in separate labels? Yes, I can absolutely do that. All right, so first off, let's see how we're um, remember that in labels or just labeling, um, and let's just go with, for example, fixtures. Okay, so this is perfect because in this example job, I said, hey, I'm providing a price on each system. I'm providing a price on power. I'm providing a price on lighting. I'm providing a price on um, fire alarm and voice and data. So let's just say I have some fixture quotes that came in. Well, I want to apply those quoted material dollars. I want to apply that to lighting. Okay, so I'm going to go into this folder here for quotes. Now, keep in mind that in takeoff, again, we account for the material. So things like fixtures are quoted. We're only giving you labor to install that. In extension, the quoted material shows up in a quote filter. So we'll automatically show you, here's all the, all the lighting quotes, all the equipment quotes, all the material that's quoted. So of course you would send that out to a supplier for quote. And then when you get those prices back, here, this is the quotes folder where you would insert the quotes as a lump sum. Now, again, I have my system grouping turned on. And so if you look at this line here, this is where I'm going to insert my fixture quotes. Now there's a plus sign here. If you open this up, you'll see that it's showing me each one of those systems. So so let's just say the quotes came back $5,000 total for all the fixtures. You would just put that in right here. Okay, so now I've applied a $5,000 quote to lighting by itself. Okay, it's that simple. Now it wraps it up and it'll show the total amount here. Now if we go back to the top sheet, right now I'm looking at everything. This is the whole job, right? This is the sell price. This is my base bid price as a whole. I can open this up here on the top sheet and see that there were other quoted material dollars that were also applied to the lighting. So it shows the total amount, but you could also do it this way. You could also turn this on here to look at lighting by itself, for example. So now here's the total quoted material dollars for the for lighting, for the breakout called lighting. Now, if I go to the quote folder, you'll see that there's $5,000 on there for the fixtures. And there was some other equipment cost as well. That's how we ended up with about 6,500 total. But yeah, I mean, if I look at the quotes folder for, let's say, power, okay, you'll see that the folder is going to look a little different. It's not, there. Yeah, I added some equipment costs there for quoted material dollars, but that $5,000 you know amount that I put in for lighting is not shown here. It's only applied to the lighting breakout. So appreciate the question. Sometimes if you're dealing with when you're dealing with breakouts in terms of like providing breakout pricing specifically, when you get here to the bid summary, however you're viewing it in extension, and if you remember, I showed you can like separate, combine and separate there. So if it, so however you're viewing it there is how we're able to finalize it here. So I had my system separate when I sent it over to the bid summary, and now I have the ability to spread costs between all of them, or in this example, put it on specific breakouts. So alrighty, I haven't seen any other questions pop in here. So I do want to thank you all once again for joining today's webinar. Again, this is part of our educational series. We're really trying to pick out, important topics to cover and drill down on. Of course, if you have any requests for future webinars, please let us know. Anything you'd like to see us cover. We've done many of these webinars, and we're going to keep doing them. The next one I'm doing, I think, is next month, and it's going to be more of just a general overview, just kind of a short, condensed, 30-minute demonstration. But yeah, once again, if there's anything we can help out with, if there's any questions at all, give us a shout. You can ask for myself. Again, my name is Dylan. But there are plenty of people here to give you a helping hand if you're just looking for some information, or if you'd like to set up a full demonstration. So please enjoy the rest of your week and take care. Thanks again.